Greetings to everyone who's watching this video. For our discussion of today, we will talk about the elements of culture, presented by the High School Social Studies Department of the DASIG program. For the learning outcomes of this activity or of this discussion, the students will be able to define culture and discuss its types and elements, define culture on their own words, understand and apply the learning of this lesson for the betterment of the community, and create a report regarding to the culture of the students in their respective communities. Now, before I start the discussion, let me ask you this first. Have you ever asked yourself or to your parents or friends about your culture or the culture being practiced in your community? Thinking that you are very curious of the complex culture that is being practiced and how this culture being your trademark and signifies that it is found in your area only and it is unique. In this lesson, we will venture on the meaning of culture and its types and elements. So, culture and how do we define it? Technically, there are many definitions of culture that sprung from the brilliant minds of anthropology and sociology. One of these definitions were given by Sir Edward Burnett Tylor, an English anthropologist known as the founder of cultural anthropology. His world-renowned work was entitled Primitive Culture that was influenced by Darwin's theory of biological evolution. His definition of culture is that it is a complex whole which includes knowledge, beliefs, arts, morals, law, customs, and any other capabilities and habits acquired by man as a member of the society. This is the formal, academic, and scientific definition of culture. Culture may also refer to the set of beliefs, ideas, values, practices, knowledge, history, and shared experiences, attitudes, or behaviors, as well as material objects and possession accumulated over time and shared by each member of the society. In the anthropological perspective, on the other hand, culture is defined as the shared collection of both the implicit and explicit beliefs, ideas, principles, and behavioral rules that enable a social group to work and survive. It is a set of practices commonly found within a social group that allows them to connect with each other and live harmoniously in their own terms. In a sociological perspective, on the other hand, it views culture as a comprised of the shared principles, ideals, language, interaction, and practice structures that people share and can be used to describe them as a community. It also includes the common material artifacts of the community or the society. It is different from society's social system and economic dimensions, but it is linked with them or it is related with them, both informing and being informed by them. Culture comes from the Latin word cultura, which means care, or cultus, which means civilization, and it stems from colore, which means to tend, guard, cultivate, or till. To cut it short, the culture is the way of living of the people. It rests on how we live, what we believe in, and how we see the world bounded by our principles in life.
Let's move forward and talk about the two types of culture, the material culture and the non-material culture. What is the difference between these two? Material culture means comprises of physical and tangible things that is shared and used in the society, which include tools, technologies, statue, clothing, weaponry, means of transportation, and so on. In the other words, this is the type of resources and space refers to the physical objects that people use to define their culture, while the non-material culture means comprises of intangible things and elements of the society that influence the pattern of behavior and the action of each member, like for example the values. Values is one of the example of non-material culture, which member of the family should perform good action towards other to influence the behavior of each member. In the other words, it is refers to the abstract of ideas and ways of thinking that make up a culture. That's all for the two types of culture.
So now we will discuss all about the elements of culture. These are the major elements of culture. First, we have the norms. Second, values. Third, language. And lastly, symbols. So first, we will discuss all about norms. Norms are the standard social behavior being established in the society. Thus, these are the accepted social behaviors. For example of the norms. First, arrive to class on time. That is norms. Next, never use cell phone during class hours, especially if it is not emergency. Lastly, don't talk when your mouth is full. There are categories of norms. First, we have the mores. It is not pronounced as mores, but mores. It refers to the most significant standards of behavior in any culture. More important societal norms that any violation is punishable. For example, if you violate a school rules, you will be punishable according to the school rules and regulations. As well as, if you got caught cheating, you will be punished. That is according also to the school rules and regulations. Second, we have the folkways. Folkways are less significant social norms that may be violated without punishments. Hence, it is forgivable. For example, if someone does not use a spoon or fork during an actual banquet or does not take a bath for a week or a month, it is forgivable. There's no punishment for such violation. But erring persons are reminded to outdo the usual practice in maintaining acceptable social behavior. Lastly, the laws. The laws are the written norms. Laws are most significant social norm that is legally enforced and enact that any form of violation will be seriously punished. For example, if this includes the violation of any provisions of the Constitution, Republic Act, International Edict, local ordinances, or the local laws and the like, and those found guilty with these violations are sentenced in jail or, if not in some culture, they are even sentenced to death. So now we will tackle all about values. Values, these are the shared norms and principles and ideas that provides a member of society the standards that pertains to what is right or wrong, good or bad, desirable or undesirable. Values are worth something good or desirable. Values can be exhibited in various dimensions of the human person. The human person as a self is a member of a community associated with social, political, economic, intellectual, moral, spiritual, and physical values. So now we will tackle all about language. Language is a set of symbols that can be spoken, which is verbal, or written, which is non-verbal. It has a specific and arbitrary meaning in a given society. With the use of language, for example, in a classroom setting, teachers and students can transmit their thoughts, feelings, and emotions of certain events then and now. Language involves listening, speaking, reading, and writing. There are two dimensions of language. First, we have the langue. Langue is the underlying logic and structure of a specific language. It is the overall structure of thinking that directs human linguistic abilities such as words, rules, and grammatical structures. In other words, it refers to the phonics, signs, symbols, and the grammatical systems. The second dimension of language is parole. Parole refers to the actual speech or the way of the speaker in using the language. Language is very influential since it influences human behavior and a manifestation of collective interpretation of social realities, and as a tool for perpetuation and cultural expansion. Language can be verbal and non-verbal. So now we are going to discuss all about verbal language. Verbal language is a form of communication that is spoken or written. While in written communication, the language is scribbled in any space material using a prescribed structure, namely phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. In oral communication, the language is spoken. Next is the nonverbal language. Nonverbal language is a form of communication through the use of gesture, body movements, and facial expressions, and the like. Now we will discuss all about the terms under the verbal language. We have the phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Phonology is a system of speech sounds that an individual utters, that is, rules regarding on how sounds can be used and combined. Next, we have the morphology. Morphology concerns the form and internal structure of words. That is the transformation of words in terms of such areas and numbers, like present to past tense or singular to plural. Next is the syntax. It involves the rules governing sentence structures, the order and the way in which words and sequences of words are combined into phrases, clauses, and sentence. And also it concerns in the grammatical systems. Semantics, meaning or understanding of the language. So with the meaning and understanding of the language, it involves the meaning of the word to an individual, which may be unique in one personal mental dictionary. Lastly, we have the pragmatics. Pragmatics is the utilization of language in the social context. It includes the rules that govern language, the reason for communicating, for example, and rules that govern the choices of codes, which is alternate message forms, to be used when communicating. For example, there are different ways a teacher talks when lecturing to a class versus chatting in a party. Next is the nonverbal language. So there are many kinds of nonverbal language. First, we have the kinesics. Kinesics is the body motion such as gesture, body movements, facial expressions, and the like. Next is the paralanguage. Paralanguage refers to the voice quality, volume, pitch, timbre, rhythm, beat, and expression that reflects a distinct personality, level of education, and attitude. For example, one of the teacher has a chime-like yet sonorous voice has developed interest among her students compared to another teacher that has a forlorn voice that invites her student to nap eventually or to sleep. Next, proxemics. Proxemics is a special or distance of the people. We have the physical distance, social distance that is being used today in this time of pandemic. Next is the chronemics. Chronemics is the use of time in communicating, use of time in expressing certain things. And next is the oculesics. Oculesics is the use of the role of the eye contact in communicating with others. Next is haptics, is the use of touch in communicating to others. Next, we have the olfactics, is the use of smell in order to communicate with others. Next, chromatics. Chromatics is the use of color in order to have communication with others. And lastly, we have the symbols. There are many different symbols that being differently interpreted in the world. Symbols refers to the thing that convey meaning or represent an idea. And these symbols are essential, especially in communication, shaping the thoughts and ideas, defining the society's culture. To conclude, culture in simple definition is the way of living of the people from the day when he or she was born until Tom. The culture became our trademark, and it makes us known because of its uniqueness. The culture has two major components or types, which are material and non-material culture. Material culture is the physical or tangible stuffs like buildings, cars, and the like. And the latter is the intangible ones, like values, norms, traditions, customs, and the like. There are major elements of culture, namely norms, values, language, and symbols. These elements of culture are very important to know or actualize, since we are living in a complex society with a complex culture, that are expected to follow. Knowing and understanding these things will lead to the betterment of the community and the society. These are the references of our topic today. This ends our discussion today about the elements of culture. And these are the presenters of this topic. We have Leigh Michaels, truly yours, Arisrod Istoral, and John Ronald. Please don't forget to hit like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, and also don't forget to hit the notification bell to keep you updated for the new and fresh learning videos. Thank you very much and have a good day.